like that whole thing. And like the immediate reaction to that is, oh my gosh, look at that. I can see the face on like all my opponents, my friends. I'm going to own you. You can't hide your reaction from me. What they didn't say, because they never said it was an online mode. It wasn't. It was a local multiplayer mode. And the facial expressions and reactions from your friends, you had to be in the same room playing that game. So you could have just looked. You could have just looked up from your 3DS and looked over at the person you're playing with. So like, don't.
Jeez.
And that's with Nintendo. Like you got to be careful. As exciting as what they can announce, if they don't announce it, do not expect that it's coming. And
I know, but we do that all the time. It's hard not to.
I do it every time they mention a title. So believe me, I'm a total hypocrite when it comes to this.
Yep.
But it's like, it's like the ideas of Pokemon and where that franchise can go. And without getting into, we'll save that. We're gonna save.
Yeah.
What the thing you just reacted to.
Yeah.
We're gonna tease listeners right now. We're gonna save that until the end of the show. If you want to talk about that, we'll talk about that. But like with Pokemon, like this is a big year for them. Like they are launching a brand new, like real entry in the franchise for the next generation of Pokemon.
Pokemon S&M.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's a little more adult friendly this year. Pikachu's into some of that electrostimulation, if you know what I'm talking about. But like that, this is a big year for the franchise, so you would think. But it's so big that it's not going to have presence at Nintendo's E3 booth.
Yeah,
like that's weird to me.
I feel like that's going to change. Like, you can't not say something about all this stuff. Like, they've at least got to have. I don't know. Well, I guess they wouldn't really have that for a demo, but
believe me, they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I know.
Whenever you expect Nintendo to do something, they tend to swerve and do something else. And that's what's cool on one hand about the company, but it can also be disappointing as a fan because you look at what other companies do, what Microsoft and Sony do. And sometimes you're like, oh, I kind of wish Nintendo would just do that. And that's where the frustration comes, where some people look at Nintendo news and they just go, why can't they just go third party and make PlayStation games? Because at least I could get the games I love on a platform that's successful, that has a huge player base, that has a ton of like horsepower behind it. Well, a ton. Well, I won't get into that. I'm not gonna diss on console specs right now, but like it's right now of the three, Wii U, PS4, Xbox One. Sony, they're king of the castle in terms of the spec race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you play games like like The Order or Killzone or Infamous. Like these games look fantastic, right? They still look great. I finally picked up Infamous First Light again this last week to play through it. I mean, the last month or so, I got back into Sunset Overdrive, and I finally beat Sunset Overdrive. Fantastic game from Insomniac. I loved it. They developed the Ratchet and Clank series, but it's an Xbox title, and I forget if it's on PC as well, but it was launched as an Xbox One exclusive. It's a great game. If you haven't played it, check it out. Ton of fun. Open world, zany weapons, characters. It's a blast. So after I finished Sunset, I was like kind of itching for more of that. So I picked up Infamous First Light again, which I started, when it came out, when it hit Plus, whenever last year. And it's really fun. The traversal, the powers, gorgeous game. And you play stuff like that, or I play stuff like that. And I do think with the technical wizards that work at Nintendo, they can squeeze every ounce of their hardware into something just magical at times. Like Mario Kart, I don't care what resolution it runs at. I don't care if it skips a frame. If it's got a weird like little glitch, I think, where it's like 59 frames instead of 60, so it like repeats a frame or skips a frame or something. like I don't really care because like visually, like the impact is there. It looks phenomenal on hardware that you wouldn't think they could utilize that well. But they do, and they surprise time and time again. So they have the technical ability, they have the creative ability, and sometimes you wish, as an onlooker, as a Nintendo fan, that they could just throw in the towel on hardware and just go third party. And I've been hearing and reading online the call for that again with this E3 2016 news, where it's just like, if you don't have any games, what the heck are you doing? Just get out.
You know, we've talked about that so many times, but I was actually watching, I guess, what's his new show? Pachter Factor. So I was watching Michael Pachter, who has his show over on sifted.net. And he always reminds us of the important facts, like him or hate him. He's always got a brilliant perspective on stuff. And he was reminding the viewers on the show that whatever happens, even if the NX is a failure, whatever happens, Nintendo has, a war chest of, oh God, I don't even want to guess at the number. This is a guess. All I know is that the billion is correct. He said like $20 billion, whatever their war chest is, whatever the actual number is, it's still in the billions. So like, they're fine. They're not, sure. They're, worried about, making sure things go smoothly, but they're not at the point, nor will they be at the point for a long time where it's do or die.
No, absolutely not. I mean, they don't need to bow out of anything that they don't want. Like, NX could flop, and it doesn't matter. Like, I think the money in terms of console sales matters very little to the impact and the staying power of their marquee characters.
Right.
Nintendo's IPs, those characters, those franchises, are almost second to none in any media. Like, they're comparable to Disney, and that's about it.
That's actually what I was going to say. And not, Disney is obviously, though they share similar, kind of things between the companies. Like, Disney is obviously like a mountain compared to Nintendo being a little ant. But like, as far as like their properties and what they can do with them and all that kind of stuff, they are very much like Disney, where like Disney doesn't have to make a single movie for the next 100 years, and they'll just continue to turn an ungodly amount of profit because of the parks and the rides and the merchandise and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and now they have the power of Marvel and Star Wars to lean on.
Yeah, and though again, Nintendo is not nearly the size company that Disney is. Nintendo kind of has that power where, like, all the stuff that they sell around the world, all their merchandise, and now they are making the deals. Did they make the deal with Universal, or was it Disney or
Universal?
Yeah, it is Universal. Okay, so like they've got rides coming, so Nintendo's going to be fine. And I think it's kind of hard to think about that, because like I kind of want them to have their back against the wall. I want them to be in a do or die situation, because that's what's going to get their butts busy to do what they need to do.
These console makers, these first parties, they put their best work in action when their backs are against the wall. When they fumble the ball, and they have to kind of regroup and plan for the next time. That's when great things happen. And we saw that with Sony. And, coming off the just incredible success of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, like there is you have to wonder how high that arrogance goes, where they came out with PS3 and they start like whipping around $599. It's the bestest, most powerfulest console ever. And you like get another job. That's how you're gonna afford it. Ken Kutaragi, I think, said that.
Yep.
Like, in that arrogance, when then it doesn't travel well, it doesn't work well with the fans and the market. Like, you get dropped a couple pegs, and even though by the end of the generation, like, PlayStation 3 sales caught up with Xbox One sales, and both did very, very well. Nintendo Wii sold tremendously well, far beyond those two. But Sony was able to recover, and then with PlayStation 4, you saw like a company that was a little more humble in their messaging, their delivering, how they talk to not just journalists but their audience, and they delivered what fans wanted.
Yeah, it was
all along.
They went through a huge change in mindset at the company,
and I think it benefited
their whole approach,
them tremendously.
Oh yeah, so much.
Like, and we just saw, like, they call it, the third console curse. And I kind of wonder, like, if that's really a thing. I think with Nintendo, it's a little different because the bridges that were burnt with retailers and third parties during the Super Nintendo era and then the N64 era,
mm-hmm.
like, that was already going. Those fires started long ago. Nintendo's arrogance was in full force
mm-hmm.
before their third home console hit market. But we saw, like, what happens to a console when you lose third-party support. What happens when someone else comes out and wants to compete with you? And it was PlayStation that won that battle. And we're going to talk about console wars. It's a little pointless because these consoles, yes, they compete with each other. Yes, they compete for mind share and market share. But at the end of the day, it's all about how healthy the industry can remain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the reason why you'll see Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, praise Naughty Dog for Uncharted 4 and praise PlayStation and Sony and all those guys there, because they're all in this together. Like, there isn't a real war to the extent that some fans like to turn it into. Like the Playground days, the Mario versus Sonic wars, that's over. For the most part, I haven't been on a playground in a while. Maybe, maybe they wouldn't be arguing about Mario though. And they wouldn't be talking about Halo now either.
That's a whole different discussion. Yeah, the kids on the playground, they don't give a crap about Mario.
Yeah, they're talking about mobile games.
Yep.
But like with Microsoft and the Xbox One, like, we saw what happens, like, with arrogance again. And Microsoft came out in 2013. They reveal, the Xbox One, and a lot of us remember the May showcase of TV, sports, TV. Oh, by the way, Forza is also here. And let's talk about Halo, but not a Halo game. We're going to talk about a Halo TV series. Like, and that spoke volumes to, I think, consumers and audiences and Xbox owners. Like,
mm-hmm.
Like Xbox 360, it might honestly be my favorite console ever. Like, I played so much on that console. Great games. First party support was, it waned a little in the end, but that always seems to happen. Well, maybe that's just Nintendo and Microsoft where that seems to happen. Whereas, like, the life cycle of the console is, like, nearing its end. That first party support kind of disappears. But we saw that, and Microsoft is currently in their humility, humble approach right now. Once Phil Spencer took over the division and they've definitely been, like, changing their messaging, and I think under Phil Spencer's leadership, like, Xbox One has made some really good strides, and how that company is changing, or how the console is changing. Well, the company changed as well. A new CEO who has a real focus on software over hardware, on cloud computing. It's really interesting.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm curious about Microsoft, to see what's going to happen with them, because I know we kind of know where Phil Spencer's, like, where his mindset is. We kind of know the direction he wants to go, but it seems like, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but I feel like where he wants to go is a total different direction from where their CEO wants to go for Microsoft. And maybe I'm wrong. It's just, I don't know. I can't even imagine what's going to happen with Microsoft over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think